2024 taught me more about life than I could have imagined, but there are a few lessons that I learned that are going to stick with me for a long time that I think I'll bring into 2025 and beyond. I just turned 29 this week. I've technically been alive now for 30 years, obviously the last stage of my 20s. I think a lot of these lessons are things that I don't know if I'd say I wish I knew them sooner, but I'm hoping that by sharing them, we can kind of connect with similar journeys around this stage of life. These lessons came up as part of doing my 2024 reflection, and I initially intended on doing a video going through all of my different reflection answers that I have as part of my Notion template, the kind of form that you can do for your yearly review. I did start filming that video, but it was kind of boring, just me basically reading out the answers that I'd written. So I decided to instead bring together some ideas from some of these different questions into some broader life lessons. The first lesson is one that I learned quite early in the year this year, which was you have to grieve or mourn the life that you thought you wanted. There was a time when I really believed I would be, a Google hotshot and that would be the lifestyle that I would live. And I still have such a clear picture of what I thought that would look like. There was also a time where I thought I'd be able to manage being an academic while running the company that I run. I had to let go of both of those ideas. Both of them have really slipped through the cracks this year. That's because I don't really think I want those things anymore. And that's okay because I think we do have different stages where we think we want different things, and it's totally fine to change your mind. But just because you've changed your mind doesn't mean that there's no loss that happens from that decision. And you kind of have to go through a mourning phase. There's this play called The Seagull by Anton Chekhov, and one of the characters in it, Masha, has this famous-ish line where she says, "I'm in mourning for my life." And it seems kind of dramatic to say, but this happens at different stages of life. We have things we wanted for our life that no longer serve us, or that we no longer want, or that for whatever reason we no longer can have at this time. And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to feel loss for things we wished we had. A related lesson, and I think probably the most important lesson, is the life that you want is closer than you think. I touched on this recently in one of my videos that I filmed in Cambridge. We in our 20s, I think especially, tend to want to fit into the world around us and to make our way in the world. We have these ideas of how we think that's going to happen. We have these ideas of what a successful life might look like or what we want to have done by the time we reach 30. In this decade of life, I think you really start to renegotiate and redefine what success means. Having set certain goals that I thought would bring me close to a life I wanted and achieving those goals and then realizing they actually didn't bring me any closer to the life I wanted was tough. One of the bad parts about it is that you don't have that sense of achievement from doing that. In my reflection this year, when I was looking at the question, and it's quite a daunting question, it's the first question on the list: what are some of your big achievements this year? What are some things that you accomplished? I really had to reflect because, in terms of what other people would see maybe as achievement, certain successes that I've had in the business that I've run, publishing papers as part of the part-time research that I've done, earning a certain amount of money, none of those make me feel accomplished or feel a sense of achievement. Then I had to reflect on, well, what actually does make me feel like I've achieved something? What actually did fill me with a sense of achievement this year? Some of those things were really simple, like beating my partner Jack in a game of snooker. And it was quite a high stakes game, but that filled me with so much sense of achievement. Improving skills in general, I find, give me a big sense of achievement. There's certain things that I've achieved in yoga, like little improvements or getting to do a pose that I wasn't able to get into before. That makes me feel a huge sense of achievement. Learning a piece on the piano, a new piece for the first time in 10 years, thinking that, what if I'd lost all those skills that I learned when I was younger? That fills me with a big sense of achievement. Learning a load of lines and getting on stage and saying them, that makes me feel a sense of achievement. releasing the Notion template that I spent months developing. Achievement. Those are the accomplishments I think I had this year. Not, earning a certain amount of money or winning things or anything like that. The basic point I'm trying to get across is that it's actually quite simple being happy. We're trying to get to the point where we can eventually be happy by doing all of these things and kind of suffering now so that we can later be happy. There is definitely, a time and a place for that. But if the things that I need in life are to be able to go to my yoga classes and to be able to have time with my partner that's not interrupted by work and be able to spend time with my dog and with my family and visit my dad in Galway, I can do those things now. I might not be able to do them in 10 years from now. And I might have spent all this time to create all this space for then, but that might not be a possible thing then. My dog might not be around. I might not have the ability to do yoga anymore. Other people in my life might not be around, but they are here now. I can carve out time now for that, but only if I'm focusing on what's important in the here and now and not about way down the line. And there's a tricky thing there because yes, we want to plan for the future. Yes, we want to set ourselves up for the ability to do these things for a long time, but we also need to think about our current state. And I think that's something that I didn't think about for the first 9 years of my 20s. A really valuable lesson I learned this year, and I learned it against my will, is that sometimes you enter periods of discontentment. I talk about discontentment rather than happiness because happiness is a fleeting feeling. So something can happen today and I can feel happy about it. But contentness is a state that's measured over a longer period, the same way depression is a state. Discontentment is the opposite of contentment. There's this, again, famous quote. I'll bring in a little bit of literature in this video. But in Richard III, it opens, question mark, because I haven't actually seen it, with Richard III saying, maybe it's just a monologue that opens this way: "This, or now, is the winter of our discontentment, made summer by blah, blah, blah." I have been reading this really gorgeous book, which I will insert a picture of me holding here, called Wintering. And it's this idea of life giving us seasons sometimes, and sometimes we need to enter a period of winter, which is a dark period, both in terms of light and in terms of kind of what's going on, and recover within that period before we can then come out and have everything be okay. And the lesson that I think is joined there is sometimes things have to get worse before they can get better. When we enter that period of winter in life, these things can be periods of really uncomfortable emotions. I've had anxiety for a few years now, but this year is the year that it got really bad. This is the year that burnout took me in her arms and plunged me into ice cold water and kept me there. This is the year that Lady Depression also made an appearance. All of these things are naturally very difficult to experience, but I also think I managed to find the joy in experiencing them. They were kind of like a huge wake-up call for me. I've been dealing with these difficult emotions for a few years. I don't think I actually really understood what burnout was until this year when it actually fully wiped me out and made me, question everything. There's something really validating about experiencing these feelings and really knowing and being able to say, yeah, this is what this is. And also to experience the root emotion of sadness on its own for several months, which I had never happened to me in that way before because I have been putting my emotions so far away from me. So being able to feel these feelings was really validating because I know I've been dealing with really difficult things. And this was like my body and my mind saying, yeah, we also know, and this cannot continue. I think when you're going through a period of really difficult emotions, it can obviously be really scary for yourself, but it can also be scary for people around you. But I believe that this period was really necessary for me because I think if I didn't have them, I probably would have just continued dealing with what I've been dealing with and not making any changes in my life. And slowly but surely, these things will have worsened and eventually will have, just taken me out completely. To be able to point at something and say that the work I've been doing in the company that I've been running for 4.5 years has been doing this to me. When I look at my life and when I look forward, there is no hopeful and secure future there if I keep doing what I'm doing. That is one of the key causes of anxiety and depression, is that feeling. Sometimes I think when you're in a difficult job or when you're going through something difficult, you can manage because you can see down the line how this experience will eventually help. But this is one where now I don't see how this is going to help me. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel with this work. I don't see how things can get better for me in this role. And I can either accept my fate that this is what this is going to look like and continue to experience worsening emotions, or I can say, hey, I don't think this is my tunnel, and leave. And because this year has been so extreme, the first option really is not an option. As someone who would have struggled to make this decision, the validation of the experiences that I've had, like I just feel like nobody can say to me, hey, don't do that, because of how I've been feeling this year. And it's not, temporary. It's been building and building and building. And this is like, it's finally here in its full form. It's like in Pokemon when they come out and it's been like that. Yeah. The next couple of lessons are around this idea of making a big choice, making a big change in your life, because it is really scary. It's really hard, especially if you're a people pleaser, if you're a perfectionist, if you worry about what people think. All of these things are going to make things more difficult. And it's something that I've been going back and forth with for quite a few months. And a couple of lessons that have helped me, some from others, some from within. One from my mom, which was, I've been spending these several years trying to fix everything in the business to make it eventually work in a way that is going to be easier for me. And I've made all these tiny changes, and all of those changes have come with more trouble because people don't respond well to change. And it's the lesson that you can die by 1,000 cuts, or you can die by one cut. And in a way, it's your choice. In making all of these small changes and all of the changes I would have continued to make to try and eventually make this kind of perfect scenario where I could make this work, it still might not work, but you can choose one cut, which would be me deciding to leave. That might be easier for people, because people, even other people outside of me in this business, dealing with the 1,000 small things versus one thing is also easier for them. If you're worried about disappointing someone with your decision, one lesson that I've found helpful is that everyone will get over it except for you. With me deciding to leave the company, I'm worried about how that will affect the staff that work there. I'm worried about how the customers will be annoyed and I'll have to deal with all of the ramifications of that. I'm worried about how disappointed the students will be. I'm worried about how the founder, who passed away nearly 5 years ago, will be looking down at me and, judging me. But realistically, everyone else will get over it, because there are other jobs, there are other places where people can go and do these types of activities. And the responsibility for me, you know, it's not my company, it's not my responsibility to keep this going for the sake of someone who isn't here. The only person at the end of the day who's going to be really affected by this is me. Everyone else is there for a short while. I'm there for the whole time. It's basically learning that I am the priority. This was one thing that came out of the question, what did this year teach you about your priorities? I think it's a big picture question. And I think this year taught me that the priority is me. Realistically, nothing else matters that much. There was a question I saw on Instagram this year, which was, if no one else existed in the world, what would you be doing? One part of me was like, well, nothing. I wouldn't have to do anything if there was no one else around, because right now my existence is literally for other people. And that was really awakening, because I learned that you can't live your life for other people. They're not going to thank you at the end of it all. But if you live your life for yourself and find out what truly makes you happy and go and do those things, then you'll really thank yourself. And that is something that is possible for us all to do. Is it selfish? Maybe. But like, who cares? Who cares? Yeah, people are going to judge and people are going to do these things, but everyone else gets over it. You won't. You go and do the things you want to do. Obviously, within reason, do something in life that really makes you happy. Who can really judge? I don't think anybody can. And then the last one that I've had has been really useful for facing reality when you're an anxious person, especially if you tend to kind of spiral about things. And it's the idea of like what's happening right now. It's impossible to tell people not to worry. People tell me all the time not to worry about those things, and that is literally impossible. But what you can do is focus on what's happening now. My sister gave me this mantra of not happening now. So when you're thinking about something and you're worrying about it, you just go, it's not happening now. I find that the negative aspect of that is difficult. It's something that we teach in like child behavior is rather than being like, stop doing that. You instead want to be like, let's do this instead. So the this instead in this case is to say, what is happening right now? So right now I'm sitting in our home office. I'm filming a video. I've got my left foot planted on the floor. You might have seen it kind of like a meme thing of looking for 3 things you can see, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste or something like that. So it's like focusing on the senses and the literal here and now. You can't do those two things at the same time. You can't worry about the future, the past, and also focus on what's happening right now. Living in the moment, we all could do it more. I think it's something I'd like to see more of for myself. The Power of Moments as well. Great book, The Power of Moments. I read it every year at this time of year. And this led me into my question of like the memorable moments of the year. A lot of them were around different events. My friend Rebecca's wedding, my cousin Mark's wedding, holidays, getting to Croatia with Callan, Paris with Connor, Italy with my family for my dad's 60th, Greece with Jack, even the conference holidays in Italy by myself and Cambridge by myself. Good times, these moments, this sense of novelty and newness in the world is forever in and out. But I think this is something that we can definitely find more of in our lives. Trips to the theater are some of my top memorable moments of the year. Yoga workshops have been key moments for me this year. And just in general, like I feel it's definitely one of the happiest places that I exist in. The RADA course that I did this year, 5 weeks of utter joy that I will forever keep in my heart. And that has led me to reevaluate my life and reevaluate what I'm doing with my time and reevaluate what's possible as well, especially around my own happiness. I am very grateful for that experience. These are some of the life lessons that I've learned this year. I really hope this video is not too much of a downer because I ultimately feel very positive about all of that I've experienced this year. I think it was all necessary. I feel like I'm in my villain winter. I think this time next year, we're going to be feeling very differently. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow you will see a video of my vision creation for the new year and for life. And then hopefully the next day you'll see my 2025 plan with me. I'll have a video linked up here for you to watch and talk to you soon.